Morning, broadcasting live from Kuala Lumpur, I'm Ghazali Abdullah. Good morning. First, the headlines. 1,868 new hospital admissions, ICUs at 41% capacity. Man held over charred body of woman found after Cheras school fire. Cops probe video on defiant civil defense officer at landslide site. Brent Renaud, U.S. journalist and filmmaker, killed in Ukraine. Ukraine war, Russia asks China for weapons and aid, says U.S. South Korea's COVID-19 cases soar above 350,000 for second day amid Omicron wave. And Ronaldo lays claim to all-time leading scorer record on 807 goals. And now the news in full. There were 1,868 new hospital admissions involving COVID-19 cases Saturday, the Health Ministry said. Of this, 1,115 cases were in categories 1 and 2, while 753 were in categories 3, 4 and 5. Selangor had the highest number of new admissions with 286, followed by Perak 235 and Johor 201. Meanwhile, 1,586 patients were discharged Saturday. In a statement, Health Director General Dr. Noor Hisham Abdullah said COVID-19 intensive care units were at 41% of their total capacity of 876 beds. ICU beds in 6 regions have exceeded 50% capacity. A total of 211 patients required respiratory assistance, with ventilators being used at 24% of their maximum capacity. A man has been detained to help in investigations over a woman's charred body discovered after a school fire in Bandar Tun Razak here Saturday. Cheras Police Chief Muhammad Izham Jaafar said a suspect in his 30s was arrested at 6 p.m. at the school. The charred victim was identified as the school's bookshop supervisor. The body was handed over to Hospital Chancellor Tunku Mukris UKM for a post-mortem, he said in a statement Sunday. Police are investigating a video on Facebook showing a civil defense officer entering without permission the landslide site at Taman Bukit Permai 2, Ampang, here on Thursday. Ampang Jaya District Police Chief Farouk Ishak said 2 people, the officer and the owner of the social media account, were being investigated under Section 505B and Section 188 of the Penal Code for disobeying an order issued by a civil servant. The 2 were also being investigated under Section 233 of the Communications and Multimedia Act 1998 over improper use of network facilities or services. During the incident, personnel from the Selangor Fire and Rescue Department and the Special Malaysia Disaster Assistance and Rescue Team, SMART, were at the scene for search and rescue operations to locate landslide victims, Farouk said in a statement. He said that as the disaster operations commander in the incident, he did not allow the civil defense team to enter the disaster area after the situation was assessed for safety. In the 55-second video, which went viral yesterday, the civil defense officer was seen questioning Farouk's action in not allowing the team members to enter the disaster area. Thank you for being with us in this podcast group. You are listening to The Gap News, coming to you from Kuala Lumpur with reports from Free Malaysia Today, The Vibes and the BBC World Service. The Gap News is also available on the internet news portal Melaka Hari Ini. More to come, news from the international front. A U.S. journalist working in Ukraine has been shot dead in the town of Irpin, outside Kiev, police say. Brent Renaud was a journalist and filmmaker who was working in the region for time. Kiev's police chief Andrei Nebitov said he had been targeted by Russian soldiers. 2 other journalists were injured and taken to hospital. It is the first reported death of a foreign journalist covering the war in Ukraine. One of the injured journalists, Juan Arredondo, told an Italian reporter he had been with Renaud when they came under fire. Russia has asked China for military help and aid, U.S. officials tell multiple news outlets. The Chinese embassy in Washington said Beijing is focused on keeping the war from getting out of control. Ukraine says 140,000 civilians have been evacuated from some frontline locations, but not the surrounded city of Mariupol. People in Mariupol are said to be enduring freezing temperatures with no power and little food and water, as Russian troops make gains in taking the city. Ukraine says up to 30 Russian missiles were fired at a military training base near the border of NATO member Poland. Officials say at least 35 people were killed and 134 injured in an attack on the Yaboriv base. South Korea's daily COVID-19 cases stayed above 350,000 for the second straight day Sunday, as the country grapples with the fast-spreading Omicron variant. The country reported 350,190 new COVID-19 infections, including 350,157 local cases, raising the total caseload to 6,556,453, according to the Korea Disease Control and Prevention Agency, KDCA. The tally fell from an all-time high of 383,664 the day before, due largely to less testing on the weekend, reported Yonhap News Agency. And now for some sports news. Manchester United forward Cristiano Ronaldo etched his name in the record books as professional football's all-time leading scorer with 807 goals after a brilliant hat-trick against Premier League rivals Tottenham Hotspur on Saturday. The all-time top goal scorer title in football is much contested, and FIFA does not keep an official record. But the world governing body estimates that Austro-Czech Josef Bican netted 805 goals during a career that lasted from 1931 to 1955. Ronaldo's 12-minute opener at Old Trafford was a superb strike from distance that helped him equal the record. To end the bulletin, here are the headlines again. 1,868 new hospital admissions, ICUs at 41% capacity. Man held over charred body of woman found after Cheras school fire. Cops probe video on defiant civil defense officer at landslide site. Brent Renaud, US journalist and filmmaker, killed in Ukraine. Ukraine war, Russia asks China for weapons and aid, says US. South Korea's COVID-19 cases soar above 350,000 for second day amid Omicron wave. And Ronaldo lays claim to all-time leading scorer record on 807 goals. This has been the Gap News this morning, Monday, 14 March, with reports from Free Malaysia Today, The Vibes and the BBC World Service. The Gap News is also available on the internet news portal Melaka Hari Ini. We hope you found the bulletin informative. We certainly welcome hearing from you. If you do have the opportunity, please do write in. We would certainly love to hear from you. Podcasting live from Kuala Lumpur, I'm Ghazali Abdullah.